"Mr. Williams, you need to return home immediately. Your sons are in danger." Rosa Martinez's voice cracked as she clutched her phone, watching through the partially open doorway. Jessica stood in the children's bedroom once more, wearing that expression Rosa had come to dread during the last half-year. Rosa's weathered hands, hardened by 15 years of maintaining the luxurious Beverly Hills estate, gripped her cell phone desperately. "Rosa, I'm occupied with critical business," David Williams responded impatiently, his tone distant and dismissive. "Jessica assures me the children are perfectly fine. You're being overly dramatic." Through the phone, Rosa detected masculine voices, laughing and crystal glasses clinking together. Another evening of his bourbon-soaked networking sessions, while his 7-year-old twin sons, Tommy and Jake, endured mistreatment from the woman he praised as their salvation. "Sir, I'm begging you to trust me just once," Rosa pleaded. Jessica confined Tommy in the dark storage room because he accidentally knocked over his juice. Jake has been weeping for over an hour, and she threatened that if he continues. Rosa fell silent abruptly, hearing approaching footsteps. Jessica materialized in the kitchen entrance like a graceful phantom, her platinum hair immaculately arranged even at mid-afternoon. Her cold azure eyes locked with Rosa's, making the housekeeper swallow her remaining words. "Rosa, sweetheart, whom are you speaking with?" The voice dripped with artificial sweetness, masking the hostility Rosa recognized beneath. 3 months earlier, when David had introduced Jessica into their lives, Rosa had immediately sensed something disturbing. The woman's smile seemed excessive, her declarations about adoring children too emphatic, her embraces of the twins lacking genuine warmth. But Rosa occupied the lowest position in the household hierarchy. Who would credit a 50-year-old Latina housekeeper over a 35-year-old blonde attorney? "My daughter called, Miss Jessica. A family matter." Rosa disconnected hastily, her trembling hands reflecting suppressed fury rather than fear, anger that had been accumulating daily. Jessica's smile never touched her eyes. "Excellent. You understand how Mr. Williams disapproves when staff members conduct personal communications during working hours." She stepped closer, her voice dropping. "I trust you haven't shared anything inappropriate about our household." Rosa lowered her gaze, feigning deference. "Never, ma'am. I wouldn't dare." "Splendid. Now attend to the study. David arrives in 2 hours, and I expect perfection." As Jessica ascended the staircase, Rosa remained motionless in the kitchen, fists clenched tightly. She had attempted alerting David countless times recently, showing him unexplained marks on the children's arms, mentioning how the boys ceased playing whenever Jessica appeared, even discussing behavioral changes reported by their school. But Jessica perpetually had explanations prepared. The boys were energetic and clumsy. They were experiencing adjustment difficulties. Rosa was being overprotective to an unhealthy degree. And David, blinded by Jessica's charm and the fantasy of reconstructing a perfect family following his wife's death, accepted every word. What Rosa discovered next would force her to make a decision that would transform everything. But could one housekeeper really challenge someone with Jessica's power and connections? The answer would shock everyone who had dismissed Rosa as insignificant. 2 weeks following that futile phone call, Rosa observed David returning home with yet another extravagant gift for Jessica, a diamond necklace worth more than Rosa's biennial salary. He kissed his wife with the foolish grin of an infatuated man, completely oblivious to the silent terror consuming his own sons. "Darling, I secured reservations at Le Bernardin 2 weeks ahead, but my connections delivered." David presented the sapphire velvet case to Jessica, who performed surprise with theatrical mastery. "You've been incredibly generous, but tomorrow's Friday. I cannot abandon the children with—" Jessica paused, glancing at Rosa as though she were damaged furniture. "With the domestic help." Rosa continued folding the boys' clothing, each garment noticeably smaller and looser than the previous month. Tommy had shed so much weight his school trousers constantly slipped down. Jake had developed a stammer that emerged exclusively when Jessica was present. But David remained too preoccupied admiring how the diamond light enhanced Jessica's radiance. "Rosa can remain late. It's hardly problematic. She comprehends how vital these private moments are for our marriage." Jessica smiled toward Rosa, but her eyes transmitted an unmistakable message. You'll witness me destroying these children, and you're powerless to intervene." That evening, after David and Jessica departed for dinner, Rosa discovered Tommy locked inside the upstairs bathroom, sobbing quietly. The door had been secured from outside. "Tommy, sweetheart, what happened?" Rosa quickly released the lock. The child collapsed into her arms, his face crimson and swollen. She threatened that if I revealed what she did to Jake, she'd lock me in the dark basement overnight. "Rosa, Jake is injured." Rosa's heart lurched. She rushed to the twins' bedroom and found Jake lying face down, his shirt raised, exposed crimson welts across his back. Jessica had wielded a hairbrush. "She claimed boys with their beds must learn to become real men," Jake whispered, rotating his tear-swollen face toward Rosa. "She said Dad would be ashamed knowing I still have accidents sometimes." Rosa experienced a rage she hadn't felt since raising her own children alone, confronting racist neighbors and exploitative employers in Detroit. It was identical fury that sustained her through working 3 simultaneous jobs to maintain 4 children in school. The distinction now was experience, patience, and profound comprehension of how individuals like Jessica operated. Throughout 15 years maintaining that residence, Rosa had observed everything. She'd witnessed how the wealthy elite functioned, how they protected one another, how they discarded people resembling her. But she'd also mastered their patterns, vulnerabilities, and blind spots. Jessica remained unaware that Rosa had raised a son who became an attorney, a daughter employed in technology, and another son serving as a police officer. Rosa Johnson wasn't merely an invisible housekeeper. She was a woman who understood systems, hierarchies, and most critically, how to document evidence properly. The next morning, Rosa arrived at work carrying something that would change everything. A tiny device that would expose Jessica's true nature to the world. But first, she needed to capture the perfect evidence, and Jessica was about to make that devastatingly easy. The following morning, Rosa arrived at work with something concealed. Discreetly attached to her uniform collar was a small decorative button that was actually a micro camera her son Marcus had provided for documenting workplace injustices. Rosa smiled at the irony. Marcus had always anticipated she'd eventually need protection from people like Jessica. David occupied his office when Jessica descended for breakfast, already wearing that predatory expression Rosa had learned to recognize. The boys sat at the table, appearing too small for their clothing, their eyes too large for their gaunt faces. "Good morning, my precious angels," Jessica announced in that saccharine voice she employed when potentially overheard. "Rosa has prepared a wonderful breakfast for you." Rosa positioned plates on the table, golden pancakes, fresh fruit, orange juice, sufficient food for healthy, active children. Jessica waited until Rosa momentarily left the kitchen before leaning toward the boys. "You understand the rules. Children who have bedwetting accidents don't deserve complete breakfasts. Tommy, you may have 1 pancake. Jake, only fruit." "But I didn't have an accident last night," Jake whispered, tears already forming. Jessica smiled coldly. "Are you calling me a liar? Liars receive nothing to eat." She completely removed his plate, leaving Jake staring at the empty table, while Tommy consumed his solitary pancake silently. Rosa returned just as Jessica stroked Tommy's hair like an affectionate mother. "My boys are so well-mannered. David is fortunate to have such a harmonious family now." But this time, Jessica failed to notice the small button on Rosa's collar recording every word, every gesture, every moment of calculated cruelty. Throughout the subsequent week, Rosa collected hours of evidence. Jessica forcing Jake to stand in the corner for 2 hours because he'd left a toy on the floor. Jessica telling Tommy that his deceased mother was disappointed in him from heaven whenever he cried. Jessica serving substantial dinners to David and minimal portions to the children, explaining they weren't particularly hungry anyway. Each video was meticulously stored on Rosa's phone and transmitted to a secure email account Marcus had established. Each file included date, time, and detailed descriptions. Rosa wasn't simply a witness. She was constructing a legal case. Friday, David returned home early and discovered Jessica shouting at Jake because he'd accidentally spilled water. "Jessica, he's just a child," David said, though without genuine conviction. Jessica immediately transformed her demeanor, her eyes filling with tears. "I apologize, honey. Sometimes they test me so intensely. I worry I'm failing as their mother. David embraced her, whispering comfort, while Jake remained in the corner where Jessica had placed him. Still wet, still trembling, Rosa watched from the kitchen doorway, the camera capturing everything. Jessica glanced over David's shoulder and smiled directly at Rosa, a smile of absolute victory, of someone who believed herself untouchable. But what Jessica couldn't perceive behind Rosa's weary eyes was something 15 years of silent humiliation had forged. Lethal patience and profound understanding that arrogant people always commit the same mistake. They underestimate the very people they should fear most. That night, Rosa gathered her 4 adult children around a laptop, and what they discovered about Jessica's past would provide the final piece needed to bring her down. But the plan Rosa was about to execute required precision, courage, and perfect timing. That evening, Rosa sat in her modest common apartment, her daughter Kesha's borrowed laptop open on the kitchen table. At 50 years old, she was mastering platforms she never imagined she'd need. But when protecting children is involved, a mother learns anything necessary. "Mom, are you certain about this?" Marcus, her eldest son, reviewed the videos with a grim expression. As a civil rights attorney, he'd witnessed numerous abuse cases, but seeing his own mother documenting such cruelty enraged him. This is solid evidence, but people like David Williams possess resources to bury any accusations. Rosa adjusted her reading glasses, navigating files with determination that surprised even herself. "Son, I raised 4 children alone in this city. I survived racist employers, neighbors who summoned police whenever you played outside, and supervisors who paid me half what white women earn for identical work. I won't allow this woman to destroy 2 children simply because she has a law degree." Kesha, who worked as a systems analyst at Google, was downloading forensic analysis software. "Mom, these recordings are technically flawless. Clear audio, sharp video, preserved metadata. With some additional corroborating evidence, this becomes indisputable in any courtroom." James, the police officer's son, finished reviewing Rosa's detailed notes. "The abuse pattern is clearly documented. But Mom, understand, Jessica will attempt to destroy you when this emerges. People like that don't surrender. They attack." Rosa looked at her 4 children gathered around the table. Marcus in his lawyer's suit, Kesha with her vibrant hair and tech expertise, James in his LAPD uniform, and Denise, the youngest, who worked as a social worker and understood childhood trauma deeply. "She may attempt to destroy me," Rosa replied calmly, "but I'm no longer that 20-year-old woman who arrived here with nothing. You are my masterpiece. Every diploma on your walls, every success you achieve proves that people like Jessica always underestimate people like us." Throughout the following 2 weeks, Rosa executed her plan with surgical precision. She arrived daily with the micro camera activated, collecting evidence that would make any prosecutor enthusiastic. Jessica, completely oblivious to what was being recorded, intensified her cruelty. But it was Denise, with her social services background, who made the most critical discovery. "Mom, did you know Jessica was terminated from a previous position? I found records from a Manhattan family who accused her of child mistreatment 3 years ago. The case was silenced, probably with money." Rosa felt her blood boil. Jessica wasn't simply cruel. She was a systematic predator who targeted wealthy widowers, using vulnerable children as instruments of psychological manipulation. Marcus began constructing the legal case. "Mom, we're going beyond a simple CPS report. We're exposing a pattern of predatory behavior, demanding criminal investigation, and ensuring she never approaches a child again." On Friday of the second week, David announced a weekend golf trip, leaving Jessica alone with the boys. She had no idea this would be her last weekend of freedom, because Rosa had just set a trap that would expose Jessica's true nature to the entire world, live and in real time. Saturday, 10:15 a.m., Dr. Patricia Wells parked her vehicle at the Beverly Hills mansion entrance, observing the imposing facade, concealing horrors she couldn't yet imagine. Rosa waited at the rear entrance, her face tense but resolute. "Doctor, thank you for coming. The children are in their room. Jessica doesn't know you're here." Rosa guided the pediatrician up the service stairs, avoiding the main entrance. But what they encountered in the second-floor corridor made Dr. Wells halt abruptly. Muffled screams emanated from the twins' room, followed by Jessica's furious voice. "You're worthless. Two burdens that nobody wants." Rosa discreetly activated real-time recording on her phone. Marcus had established a system broadcasting directly to social media. What was about to occur would be witnessed by hundreds in real time. Dr. Wells pushed open the door, and the scene left her speechless. Tommy knelt in the corner, face crimson from crying, while Jessica gripped Jake by the hair, forcing him to observe photos of their deceased mother. "Look at her. Your mother died because she was disgusted by you. That's why she crashed. She wanted to escape horrible children like you. Release that child immediately." Dr. Wells burst in, her commanding voice echoing. Jessica spun around like a cornered animal, still holding Jake. "Who are you? How dare you enter my house?" "I'm Dr. Patricia Wells, pediatrician specializing in childhood trauma, and you, madam, are being filmed abusing minors." Dr. Wells indicated Rosa's phone, broadcasting everything live. That's when Jessica noticed the small red light flashing. Her eyes widened in pure panic. "You!" She released Jake and lunged at Rosa like a fury. "You disgusting woman. You worthless maid. I'll destroy your life." Rosa stood firm, cameras capturing every venomous word. "Continue talking, Jessica. The entire world is watching." Jessica looked at the phone again, reality finally penetrating. The live stream already had 847 viewers and climbing rapidly. Dr. Wells was examining the children, documenting every mark, every sign of malnutrition, every evidence of psychological abuse. "Rosa, contact emergency services. These children require immediate medical attention." But Jessica wasn't finished with her breakdown. "You don't know who I am. I have connections. Money. I'll sue you for trespassing, slander, defamation." "How will you sue someone from jail?" Rosa asked calmly. Display her phone screen. 1,247 people watching live. Kesha shared on legal firm social media, LinkedIn, David's personal Facebook. "Your colleagues are watching you right now." The blood drained from Jessica's face. She lunged for the phone, attempted to shut off, but Rosa had already sent backups to multiple accounts. "Too late, honey. You wanted visibility. Now the entire world sees who you truly are." At that exact moment, Rosa's phone rang. David's voice panicked. "Rosa, my friend John called saying there's a video of Jessica circulating online." "What's happening?" Rosa activated speaker mode. "Mr. Williams, I suggest you return home immediately. Dr. Wells is examining Tommy and Jake. They're malnourished, traumatized, and showing clear signs of physical and psychological abuse." 20 minutes later, David's car skidded into the driveway, and what he discovered would shatter everything he believed about his perfect new family. But more importantly, it would finally give his sons the justice they deserved.